Hi, in this lesson, we're going to learn about using live webinars for your online courses so that you can help teach your students and answer all their questions. Hi, I'm Angel from RT Course Experts, and we help creative online course teachers with their tech. In this lesson, we're going to go over using live webinars for your course. First of all, what are live webinars? Well, these are online video, screen, audio sessions, kind of like Zoom, for students where the teachers provide additional lessons and answer specific questions. So they get together, they're online, they're hearing the teacher speak, go over a prior lesson, or maybe just answer various questions from the students. Students could potentially ask questions, raise their hand, have a chat room, and after that, the students have learned and have gotten some extra practical application about the content that was in the course, or maybe it's part of the community, or maybe the webinar was used as part of a coaching process. Teachers can benefit from live webinars in a few different ways. First of all, the webinar delivers value. So the students are really appreciative. They see the webinar as above and beyond the initial course content. So the webinars help deliver a higher perceived value, and often it's real value. Secondly, teachers benefit from revenue. Teachers can charge more for offering courses or communities or coaching with live webinars. So they could simply raise the price because remember, the value is higher, so they can raise the price. Teachers can also offer product tiers, kind of a small, medium, large, if you will, where there's kind of the basic course or the course and these extra webinars. And so that's more valuable. Students are going to really appreciate that they can see the authority, the expert, and connect with that person. So they're going to be willing to pay more for that. Or sometimes your live webinars are just a separate service. So you have your community, you have your online courses, and you offer this collection of webinars where they can get on a call with you and hear. And remember, it's a group chat, but they can connect with the actual teacher. And that's very valuable, and students are going to be willing to pay for that. Thirdly, live webinars let you scale. So you're teaching one-to-many. You're not on one-on-one services. So with your time, it gets maximized and you get to serve dozens or even hundreds of students at the same time. So that's really great. And as the leader, the teacher, you don't have to spread yourself thin. And instead of hosting dozens of one-on-one sessions or handling one-on-one chats or Zooms, or you can use a live webinar to support dozens of students all at the same time. Finally, as a teacher, you can leverage these live webinars as recording and assets. So you can get to reuse this course material, whether it's using the live webinar at some future point or cutting it up and sharing it on social or email or other places, including quotes. You can use clips on community. You can leverage your webinars and include them in your community so you can have an area that has all your recent webinars or a webinar for last month, and you can list them chronologically, or maybe you have topics. So you get to reuse these assets, so that's great. Now, students love live webinars too. First of all, they're going to comprehend the material a lot more. They're going to learn faster. They're going to learn these extra use cases beyond the lessons that you have in your course that might be step-by-step or how-tos or 1, 2, 3s. Whereas in the live webinars, you can really get into student-specific use cases and their problems. So students are going to learn a lot more because you're hitting those problems from multiple angles and you're applying them in a couple of steps, not just a topical lesson. So students are going to really appreciate the live webinars. They're also very personal for those students. You may be teaching very generic solutions, generic tools for your creative students, but on a live webinar, a student can actually ask a specific question. How do I actually do this, create this shape, or do something with my hands, or make that thing look a certain way? Teacher and other students can chime in, and you can get into some really unique use cases that maybe your courses were a little more generic, which they should be because you're teaching a broader group, but students get to talk to you and ask for personal help, and that's great for the students. The students are also going to be together watching this webinar, so there's this cohort feel, whether it's at the community or just at the live webinar. The students are going to learn from other students and their questions and the answers that, or maybe a student is at a further step ahead of a different student. So they start planting some seeds in the student's head about, oh yeah, I need to worry about these other things, or I should do that next, or that's a great idea, or that doesn't apply to me, so let me not worry about that particular problem. So there's this cohort angle, and that could be very educational for your students. And finally, there's this kind of workshop live angle, depending on how you want to run your live webinar, but you can have demonstrations, you can screen share, you can share your different apps, right? You can show students, here's how I would do it, or let's try this. You can have whiteboards, virtual whiteboards on your live webinar, and you can draw charts, diagrams, all sorts of things. You can even use the live webinar to show your camera doing something with, maybe you're talking or you're playing an instrument, or you're using your hands to demonstrate products or a process or music or some sort of performance. So the workshopping angle goes above and beyond the course materials and your resources or even your community. So that workshopping angle could be very educational for your students. Live webinars are great for teachers and they're great for students. The next thing is to think about, once you have that webinar, how can you share it with students that missed the webinar? Or some students might want to rewatch it because it was so fast or advanced and they didn't fully digest it. So as a teacher, you might have a few different options about sharing your webinar recordings. So first of all, ideally, you should share these live recordings on your community, and in your course, you have an area that has a collection of files, so you should put your recordings in there. Secondly is to leverage the webinar cloud link. So after you record your webinar, there is a recording available. Remember, webinars could be recorded in the cloud or locally on your computer. So if you do that cloud one, it's very easy to just grab that cloud recording. And ideally, the webinar has all your invites. So it makes it very easy to just resend them or notify everybody that got invited with this extra resource. And the same thing goes for kind of meeting apps. But in general, you may or may not want a mosaic of all the different students there. That could interrupt the flow. And that's kind of why a webinar approach is better. And maybe you can moderate questions, your chat, your polls. You can have students raise their hand. But nevertheless, if you did use a Zoom or Teams or something like that, you can still get a cloud recording or even a local recording. The local recording, you got to do a couple of more steps to pre-process it, to upload it somewhere. But nevertheless, you can definitely use the recordings that come out of your meeting apps. And then there's a few other options. You can use a video sharing site. So something like a Vimeo or a Wistia or Vidyard, and you can take your recording that is a local recording and you upload it to that video sharing site, and then you take that and then get that to your students. So it's a couple of more steps, but it certainly works. And then also remember that your students, you're just giving them another link. It'd be way better if the live webinars were in their course or on their community. That would be ideal. And then of course you can share your videos through a file sharing site. Again, so you'll have to grab the video, upload it to like a Dropbox, maybe even create a folder and then share it that way. Again, it's a different link. It's not part of what your students are seeing unless you're actively using a share folder for other things. And finally, you may think that you could just take your videos and put them on your teacher website. And that does work for one or two, especially if they're on the smaller side. But if the videos start to get long, like you're having hour-long videos, those are like gigabyte files. And most website hosting plans aren't meant for this. And in addition to that, videos need a CDN or content distribution network, on the edge that's available and knows how to deliver large files on a continuous way with quality. Websites aren't meant for that. So that's why there's these special places that know how to do streaming servers and know how to process video. Your customers, your students, they're really going to appreciate that you're making those links available, either because they missed it or because they really want to see that part again to digest particular content, or maybe they're going to go back, take one more lesson, and then watch your webinar so that they can really understand a particular topic. Okay, so now you're a lot smarter on live webinars for your courses. There's a lot more info and resources in the notes. Please subscribe to get more tips for creative online course teachers. For tech help with courses or community or teacher website, visit www.rtcourseexperts.com. Talk to you soon.